What is up, you guys? Today I am bringing you a look using the Sephora Pro palette, the warm palette. A nice nighttime look. Definitely not something you could wear, or I would wear on an everyday basis, but starting off, I am using the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation in Fair Light Neutral. I'm just taking an older, dirty beauty blender and blending that all over my face. Just gonna even out the skin tone and make sure I have a good base to start with. And before I did put the foundation on, I did prep my skin, washed my face and moisturized, and then primed with the NYX Shine Killer. And then I also spritzed a little bit of the NYX Matte Finish spray. So yeah. Next, I am moving on to the concealer, so I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in Fair Beige. Definitely love this concealer, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I don't use too much, only because when it comes to foundation and concealer, I don't use that much anyways. It's just to kind of even out my skin tone. So I'm taking that, blending that down the cheeks a little bit, on the sides of my nose, going over the eyelids just to set a good base for that eyeshadow we'll be using later. And then you'll see I'm going to go over my forehead, down the bridge of my nose, and on my chin, just to lighten the areas that natural light usually hits. And then I'm also jamming out to whatever I was listening to. Next, I am taking the Laura Mercier, I don't know how you pronounce that, I hope that I didn't butcher that translucent powder, and using that beauty blender again to set the foundation. So I'm just tapping off some of the powder into the cap, which is the easiest way I've found to use that, and the most clean way to use it. You know, translucent powder and mousse powder can get super messy. So I'm just taking that out of the lid, putting that under my eyes to set that concealer, and then I'll put a little bit on my forehead, a little bit on my chin. Basically everywhere that I put the concealer, I'm just setting that concealer in place so it won't move. Moving on to eyebrows, I did already comb through my eyebrows. I did use the Eco Tools. It looks like Lash and Brow Groomer. The label is a little faded. It is an old brush. And then I did take a Sonia Kashuk brush in number 118. And I'm using the NYX Tame and Frame Tinted Brow Pomade in the color Brunette. And just using that to give me the precise brow look that I want. Now I did do the other brow off camera just to save some time, but you'll see me just brushing through those eyebrows again with that same Eco Tools brush. And then after this, I will be taking another Eco Tools brush. It's about the same as the Sonia Kashuk eyebrow brush. It's a little longer and a little thinner. But I'm taking the Tarte Amazonian Clay Brow Powder in medium brown and just going through all those sparse areas, making sure that the color and the brows are all even. Now here I'm not sure if I'm dancing to the music I was listening to or just the excitement of me getting my brows done. But this next step here, I am taking a big fluffy brush from Sonia Kashuk. It's number 100. I'm just brushing off all that excess translucent powder that was left on there, baking away, and then next I'm showing you the palette that I'm using. It is the Sephora Warm Pro Eyeshadow Palette. So first off, I am taking the color Oat, and I'm putting that all over my eyelid and up to my brow bone just for a nice base for the other colors. Now this brush I'm using is another Eco Tools brush. Eco Tools doesn't seem to have any numbers on their brushes. It just says what the brush was made for, so this is just an eye shading brush that I'm using. And if you've noticed, I've used a lot of Eco Tools brushes in Sonia Kashuk. I swear I'm not sponsored by them. They're just brushes that have been the cheapest that I've purchased and that I have enjoyed a lot. So definitely recommend checking out those products. So next I am taking, let's see, this is a blender brush. Wow, the labels are all gone. I will try and find these brushes for you online, but the next color I took was the color Saddle, and I put that in my crease, and I'm just blending that out for a nice transition shade. Now this next shade I'm using, it's going to be actually the color right next to the color we just used previously, Saddle. It's called Auburn. It's a little darker, a little more of a burnt brownish color, but this brush I am using, I did actually find out, it's called a Brandon Crease brush, number 1819. I think I just bought this at CVS or something. It's not really a high-end product. So I'm taking that color and putting that in the crease, and I think focusing a little bit more on the outer corner of my eyes just to darken it up a little bit and give it a little bit more of depth. this next color I'm using, it's called Burnt Umber. It's the darkest shade that I'm going to be using today in this look. I'm focusing that on the outside of my eye, the outer V, giving that a little bit more depth. And again, I'm using that same brush that I did use with all of those other colors in my crease. This next eyeshadow I'm actually using my finger in patting motions. I feel like the way that the eyeshadow is placed with the finger, it's more pronounced. These eyeshadows are so pigmented, but this one I'm using specifically is called Brick. It's a very bright red color. I love it so much. It's probably my favorite color in the palette, but I'm just taking that and patting that all over my eyelid. And then I'm going back in with that same blending brush I used with the other colors in my crease. I'm going back in with Saddle and just blending everything out, making this look seamless. Now I do end up going back in with the same color Brick and just putting a little bit more on top. I know after all that blending, the color kind of gets lost in the transition shade, so I do go back in and put a little bit more of that red color right on top of my lid. Now for the bottom lash line, I'm going back in with that same eye shading. Wow, I can't talk today. And I'm using actually a mixture of all the colors, basically, so Saddle, Auburn, and let's see, Burnt Umber. And I'm taking those at my bottom lash line, and then you'll notice I'll take a little bit of Brick and put that right in the center of my bottom lash line, just for a little pop of color, just to match with the top lid. Now it is a little bit more of a smokier, more sultry look, like I said previously. Definitely not something I would personally wear on a day-to-day basis. Definitely something more for a special occasion. And I do like the eyeshadow being a lot lower than I know some girls do, or some people do, so that's just personal preference. So I did finish everything off camera pretty much. My lashes, I used the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. The contour, I used the Sephora Collection Contour Palette. And then for my highlight, I used the Anastasia Glow Kit in That Glow. Those colors, I used a combination of Sunburst, Bubbly, and Dripping in Gold. And then for the lipstick to finish off the look, I used a Milani lipstick called Matte Beauty. I thought it fit well with the colors that I choose in the eyeshadow. So that is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you'd like some more looks for me, or have any recommendations for me, any palettes or any products to buy, please let me know in the comments below. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!